Welcome back. Today I got for you guys the defensive gems of the 2023 NFL draft. For me, it's gonna be the same kind of video as the offensive gems, except obviously defensive players. We got a couple more players on our offense. Super excited for this video. I got some guys that I love in this draft, especially on the D line. Some guys I really want to give a shout out to that aren't being talked about much. But anyways, let's go ahead and get right into our first player and get rolling in the video. First up, we got this, like, KJ Henry might be my favorite dude in this entire draft. Defensive end from Clemson. He's kind of the dude I first turned on, Clemson's first couple games of the season. And this dude started making just big plays everywhere. And I'm kind of like, who is this? I haven't really, I know Miles Murphy on the other side, but I ain't really heard of KJ Henry. So I started doing some more research, kept watching throughout the season, and this dude's he's a team captain on the team. That's one of the biggest things. Like off field, this dude's an awesome dude. One of the guys that's the team's gonna center around. Could be a team captain. 6'4", 251. He's not the biggest dude at the defensive end. He's got great size and height, obviously, but he's not like the strongest dude. But this dude, the thing I love about KJ Henry is dude just knows how to win. He can win in any way against tackles. You saw, if he's going up against those bigger tackles, he can win and beat you across the edge. He's got the spin moves, the counters, all in his repertoire. He's got every kind of move. You saw when tackles overset, he's really good. He made a lot of plays this season about tackles oversetting, setting that jab going inside, whether it's spin move or just, almost like a Euro step inside. He's got all the moves and counters, and he just knows how to win. And that's one of the things I love about D ends. And that's one of the things you got to be able to win. You can have all this speed and strength, but if you don't know how to beat the tackle, the tackle's going to give you something. He's going to give you the speed, the power, the inside moves, the outside moves, whatever the tackle's going to give you. You got to be able to read that tackle and, play to their weaknesses. And that's one thing KJ Henry, I thought, excelled at throughout the season at Clemson. Why he had insane production in his last year. I mean, dude just beat every tackle he went to in any which way form. He was reading the tackles, doing what he needs to do. You see he's kind of 83 to 121, kind of that third round kind of value is what they're kind of see, third or fourth round value. I personally would be happy taking him in the second. I'm happy to say I would take KJ Henry in the second round. He was a former 5-star coming out of high school. Kind of took a little get going at Clemson, but he had an incredible last season at Clemson. Yeah, I can't wait to see this dude in the NFL. I think he's going to excel and be one of the biggest steals of the draft when everything comes down to it. And I just watch out for KJ Henry, man. This is my dog in this class. Next up, we got ourselves a familiar face. If you guys watch my combine winners or biggest risers from the combine video, we got Jartavius Martin, DB from Illinois. Now I listed him as a DB because he's kind of like a mix. He's one of those, he played corner Illinois, and I think he can also play safety. We saw some of both. I think in the NFL he could do whatever. I think he'd be better fitted as a safety. And the reason I love Jartavius Martin, and one of the reasons he's in this video, is because of the versatility this dude brings. Where I think he could be a true one high safety. We saw the complete athleticism at the combine. This is an athletic dude, crazy athleticism. We saw I think he could play that one high, but I think he's best suited kind of that flow safety. He can come down in the box. He's a really good fitter in the run game. That's one of the biggest things that I think stands him apart from the other safeties. His play in the run game is great compared to some of the other safeties. And he can play man coverage. I mean, we saw him play some man at Illinois, almost like a corner. So I'd like this dude as one of your versatile defenders. He can come down, he can defend your slot receivers. Hell, I mean, he could play one-on-one on the outside. I think he'd be great covering tight ends and running backs. Fit well in the run game. This dude just does everything. 5'11", 194. He's got pretty good size. And you can see here, his rankings is kind of like a fourth. He's kind of like day 3 rankings based on the 3 different sites. But man, I don't see Jartavius Martin making out a day 2. I don't think he makes out on round 2. I mean, these rankings are going to keep updating, but I don't think he makes it off of round 2. I think this dude's one of the best safeties in this entire class, and just his versatility brings something that so many NFL teams are looking for, especially now when you're trying to disguise coverages and confuse these quarterbacks, because quarterbacks and offenses are just getting better and better and better at beating defenses. So you need to disguise more and play more versatile. And this dude's one of the most versatile dudes in his entire draft, and how he can play corner, safety, slot. He can man, zone, fit the run. This dude does everything, and he's going to be one of those dudes that goes a lot earlier than a lot of people are expecting. One of the reasons I have him in this video, because he's one of my biggest risers. Didn't really even, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even hear about him until just before the combine, and then I started watching this dude, and he's becoming one of my more favorite dudes in the secondary, this entire class, and why he's on this video. Now, I know you guys looking at the screen right now, and you see Clash against you. Hey, dude, I thought this was a gems video. Now, I told you, I have guys, ranging around the whole draft, but Kalijah Kinsey, I got to put him in this video. Even if PFF has him ranked 13, but you still see TD has him 53, he's 26 on the consensus board. The reason I have him in this video as a defensive gem is because this dude's a top 10 player in the class. Like, if you watch, like, Kinsey blew up the combine, like, even before we knew his combine numbers. I mean, this dude's film is nuts. He's like, he's drawing the Aaron Donald comps, and like he's the one dude. Like, I think Quinnen Williams had some, like, Quinnen Williams was dog coming out of college, and I think he had some right to some Aaron Donald comps. But Kalijah Kancey's the one dude where I'm like, hey, this dude, like Aaron Donald, like he's got that skill set. I mean, like, his just turn on the film of this dude. I mean, he's so quick, really good with his hands. I mean, he's just destroying these D linemen. He's a little bit undersized, 6'1", 281, and that's why he's not like in that Jalen Carter territory. I mean, who knows what's going on with Jalen Carter these days anymore? He's just had a rough offseason, but I mean, nonetheless, I mean, like, if he had Jalen Carter's size, I think this dude's a top 3 player in the entire draft class. The only reason he's more near that, like, 10, range is just because of his size, and he's undersized. But, like, I mean, we've seen undersized D tackles who can win in the NFL. Like, you've seen it with, like, Milton Williams, even for the Eagles, a dude who's, like, hasn't had crazy production, but he can win as an undersized dude. Aaron Donald's he's a pretty similar size to Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's the best defensive player of all time in my books. Come at me, LT fans, but, like, for my money, Aaron Donald's the most dominant defensive player we've ever seen. And, like, if Aaron Donald can do that, like, I'm not saying Kalijah Kancey's going to do what Aaron Donald did, but, like, if Aaron Donald could be the best defensive player of all time at his size, Kalijah Kancey can be an all-pro D tackle at his size. Like, I just think that's the ceiling for Kalijah Kancey. He's just a dog in everything he does. And, like, even though he's not, like, a late-round dude, he's still getting slept on some, and he shouldn't be picked. Like, if he goes past the top 15, I mean, someone's getting a steal in this draft, because Kalijah Kancey's a top 10 dude in this class, and that's where he deserves to go in the end. Next up, we're going back from, we got top 10 in the class. Now we're going back down to our day 3 kind of dudes. We got Jose Ramirez, defensive end from Eastern Michigan. He's kind of one of those dudes, 6'2", 242. The reason he's down in this range is because he struggles in the run game. Sometimes he's not the biggest dude, not the strongest dude. He's got to work on some of his run game stuff. But, like, as a pass rusher, this dude's up there as, like, one of the elite pass rushers. This dude's twitchy, athletic. He showed that at the combine and his pro day. This dude's an elite athlete at that kind of edge position, and he just knows how to rush the passer. I mean, I got to see this dude at the Shrine Bowl, and he was one of the big dudes that stood out at the Shrine Bowl. He was whooping tackles' asses at the Shrine Bowl, let's be honest. Like, this dude's athletic, knows how to rush the passer. He had over, like, 18 and a half sacks, I think, at Eastern Michigan. Really good production at Eastern Michigan. And, it's interesting to see what he plays at the NFL. I think his best fit is kind of like that outside linebacker, kind of like what we see, like, from, like, Hassan Reddick and Von Miller early on in his, like, Denver days, where, like, he's going to be an edge rusher on, like, third downs, but he can also kind of bump off the ball a little. You don't really want to, it's hard to, like, playing him a true D end is going to be tough, and that's the reason he's kind of like a day 3 dude, is because, like, he does struggle in the run game, and he might struggle he probably will struggle in the run game in the NFL. And so if he can kind of learn to play, like, he's got the athleticism to play that outside linebacker, and if he can kind of work on some of his, like, coverage stuff in a little and kind of play, like, you saw how the Eagles use Hassan Reddick. I think personally the Eagles should play Hassan Reddick more at just pass rush. Like, it pisses me off when he plays in coverage, but, like, kind of like that kind of role for Jose Ramirez. So I think the Eagles would be a great fit, but the Eagles don't really have the 4th to 6th round pick, which I think where he ends up going. Probably, I think someone takes a chance on him in the 5th or 6th round. But like if you watch Hassan Reddick, that kind of role I think would be what he does. Obviously, I'm not comparing him to Hassan Reddick. I'm just saying that role is what he does. But, like, he's one of my favorite day 3, like, developmental D ends. Told you guys some D linemen I love in this class. He's one of my favorite developmental D end guys. Just, he's got that elite pass rush upside. He's got to work on that run game, and, clean up some things. But he's got the athleticism and pass rush to be an impact player in the NFL. And that's, the main thing that matters in the NFL right now is pass rush. That's what makes the big bucks. And that's something that this dude can do. And he's a dude where you pick on day 3, develop him behind some other guys, and who knows what the future is for this dude. He could be an elite pass rusher, and maybe racks up some good sack seasons in the future, because this dude is dude you want to be drafting at one of the highly coveted things in the NFL. Pass rush is one of the things he does the best. Next up, we're going back to the cornerback position. We're going with Tyreke Stevenson, cornerback from Miami. He's another dude where he's, 1st, 2nd round kind of guy. At 6 foot 198, he's your classic height, weight, speed cornerback. I mean, this dude's got elite athleticism. He's got great size. He's going to be, I think he goes best as, like, a press man corner. One of the things he struggles in is zone, and so I think you definitely want Tyreke Stevenson to go to a more man-heavy team, because I think that's where he excels a lot more. He's not the greatest zone corner, but, like, I mean, this dude has a press man corner. He's got the upside in the draft. I mean, you can see he's anywhere from 45 to 50 to 88 in the draft. Like, he's kind of weird. I think he might sneak in the back end of the first. I think the part of the thing that struggle is like a dude like Deonte Banks set himself like high above like a dude like Tyreke Stevenson, where I think they're in the same class, but then Deonte Banks at like the combine and stuff just kind of set himself above. So Tyreke Stevenson might be kind of that early day two kind of pick. You kind of see where like Kyler Gordon and them went last year, kind of in that range of their second round pick. But I think he's a great value in the second round. Like if you're looking for a press man corner with the height, weight, speed attributes, I mean Tyreke Stevenson's that dude in the second round of this class. A team like maybe like the Seahawks, could be a team. Maybe the Eagles, bringing over that Sean Desai system if they want to go for a guy like him if they pass on corner in the first. One of those teams that runs kind of more of that system. Yeah, I think he'd be a great fit because like this dude, like I said, when you play him in press man, I mean, this dude's a dog. He gets up in there. He's got the elite athleticism. He went to the Senior Bowl and, he kind of dominated on the first day of the Senior Bowl and then kind of pieced out from after that. I think he had an injury, but like, I mean, he showed he can compete at the highest level at the Senior Bowl. And I think he's going to be a dude that's going to be an interesting watch in a really deep corner class. I think Tyreke Stevenson is going to be one of those guys that's kind of getting lost in the process in this deep corner class. But dude, you really shouldn't keep your eye on. I got him like right behind like Deonte Banks in my rankings, I think you got like that top tier of like Witherspoon and Gonzalez and Porter. Then you got kind of like a next tier where I think it's like Deonte Banks, Cam Smith, and I think Tyreke Stevenson's in that next group. Some of those dudes, and I think, so he's in that second tier of corners for me, but a dude that definitely has high upside at one of the most highly coveted things at corner, which is that press man corner. That's what he's got, highly coveted. Could sneak into the first round, but we'll see where he ends up going. But definitely a dude that's a really good value in round 2 if he's still there. Now we got my guy AJ Finley, safety from Ole Miss, another Shrine Bowl guy, coming at 6'3", 205. He's one of those late rounds. I mean, this is probably like the lowest ranking dude I got in my video. You can see he's anywhere from 263 to 314. I mean, he's kind of in that 7th round conversation right now. Like, I mean, he's one of my favorite dudes. Like when I do mock drafts, I mean, he's always there in the 7th, but like, AJ Finley's one of those dudes that he didn't get a combine invite, but I think he's actually more athletic than he says. He's got some track profiles from high school. I think he's more athletic than we kind of think. He's kind of known for as like not a great athlete, but I think he's actually a really good athlete. He didn't get invited to combine. I don't think Ole Miss has had their pro day yet, so I haven't seen any pro day numbers for him. But anyways, he's one of those safeties. He's kind of like, I think he plays best as like a box kind of safety. I think he's pretty good. He's a pretty good tackler. I think he excels probably best in like man coverage. I think he could be one of those dudes that does really well defending like tight ends and running backs in man coverage. I think so. I think a man system would be best for AJ Finley. I think he's better in a man system than a zone for sure. But he's also just a ball hawk. I mean, at the Shrine Bowl, I think this dude had like 5 picks in the first 3 days of practices or something. Like this dude was just always around the ball. Got great ball skills. I mean, like that's what you want as safety. I mean, you can play man, you can ball hawk and make tackles. This dude could be a really good strong safety for a team, and I think he could find a role and carve out for a team where like he might not be like your number one safety, but like we've seen like safety as one of those positions that teams maybe don't highly covet as much. Like we've seen some of the safety contracts this offseason with like Chauncey getting like $6.5 million. I think Poyer got like $7 million. Like safety is one of those positions that's kind of down low right now. Like Jesse Bates, the Bengals didn't want to pay him. He got a fat contract in Atlanta, but like safety is one of those positions where teams are finding more replaceable. I think AJ Finley is a dude that could come in and be a really good role player for a team and come, be that strong safety where, maybe he's not like an every down kind of, $50 million player, but like he's a dude that can fill a role. He can cover tight ends, which tight ends on the opposite track safety right now. Tight ends becoming more and more important, getting paid more and more, and so you're gonna need dudes to stop those. I think AJ Finley could be a dude that does that. He can get you some turnovers. He can play man coverage, kind of like what Chauncey did for the Eagles. Chauncey wasn't a great coverage dude, but he was a ball hawk. He got to the ball when he had the opportunity. He could play some good man coverage. I think AJ Finley could kind of provide a similar skill set, and I mean, I'm taking a chance on this dude on day 3 for sure as a developmental dude. That's where he's going to end up going is day 3. I was kind of sad that he didn't get invited to the combine, but like as a day 3 pick, I mean, AJ Finley is going to be one of the best safeties you're going to find on day 3. And I'm taking a chance on in the end of the draft. Next up, we got the only linebacker in this video. I was kind of looking through the linebackers. I like linebackers, but I was like, no one else like, man, I really want to like say this dude, but I gotta give a shout out to the pro day hero of the season, Ben VanSumerin, linebacker from Michigan State, coming at 6'3", 240. You can see here, I mean, like PFF has him at 297. And the consensus board, he wasn't even in their top like 425. So like this dude's really stepped on. Didn't get a combine invite, but he went to his pro day, and he had one of the most insane pro days like we've seen. Like this dude, if this dude put up the numbers he put up at the pro day at the combine, he would have been like the number one guy everyone was talking about. Like this dude's athleticism is completely off the charts. You know, his jumps, his speed, everything was nuts. I think he had like a 42-inch vert as pro day. Like this dude's a freak athlete. And at linebacker, like linebacker is one of those positions where like you can see athletes are being targeted more and more. Like we saw with like Jamin Davis is one of the best examples a couple of years ago out of Kentucky, where like Jamin Davis didn't have like the greatest film and stuff out of Kentucky, but his elite athleticism jumped him from like a day 2, maybe day 3 pick to like a first round pick from Washington. You know, teams want the athleticism at linebacker to be able to cover. You know, you got to be able to especially with some of these more zone teams, especially with cover 2 becoming more. You need linebackers. Linebackers play a lot bigger role in these cover 2 schemes, defending the middle of the field. And I mean, that's what teams want athleticism to be able to cover, and that's exactly what Ben VanSumerin is going to bring to the NFL. And I mean, he's one of those dudes where like it kind of when you watch him and you wonder like he's got the quickness and like I think he's got the quickness and athleticism to be. I think he could just like run through players, but like he's one of those dudes. You know, if you ever play football, they tell you don't run around a blocker, go through the dude, because when you run around, you leave open gaps and seams. And that's what Ben VanSumerin does. He kind of runs around blockers, and stuff, and he leaves some holes. That's one thing he's got to work on. I think he's got the size and athleticism to be a violent player, but he just doesn't show that on film. But I think if you get him in the right coaching, you put some more weight on him and get this dude running more downhill, playing through the run rather than playing around it. I mean, this dude could be stealing day 3 because like I said, he's not polished by any means. That's why he's on day 3. But like, I mean, I'm taking a flyer on the elite athleticism this dude showed. I'm taking a flyer on day 3 with that athleticism at linebacker. I mean, linebacker can be a very cerebral position. We've seen like some of the smartest linebackers are the best linebackers. Like Luke Kuechly's a prime example. Like, dude, like if you're really smart at linebacker, you can make plays. It's a very instinctual position. I don't know if he quite has those instincts yet, but I'm taking a bet on this dude's athleticism and, hoping that he can build the rest around. And worst case scenario, it's a day 3 pick. That's where you spend day 3 picks on high upside and athleticism in players. And that's exactly what Ben VanSumerin. I mean, he's got the upside of an elite linebacker. He's got some stuff to work on, but like I'm taking a bet on that upside on day 3 and why he's in this video as my only linebacker. Next up, we're going back to the D-line. So we're going back inside to the D-tackle position. We got Kobe Turner, defensive lineman from Wake Forest. Now this dude, he's a great football player. I'm going to get to why he's a great football player in a minute. But first, I got to mention, like, this dude's one of the best stories in this entire draft class. I mean, if you're one of those dudes, that loves a good story, I mean, Kobe Turner, go look up his full story. But, like, basically, he's a walk-on at Richmond FCS school. And then he ends up, he doesn't play a lot his freshman year, ends up getting some playing time, transferring to Wake Forest and having a great senior season at Wake Forest. Like, this is a great story and also a great football player. I mean, I saw Brett Coleman and EJ Snyder did an interview with him at the Shrine Bowl. Dude's one of the smartest dudes like I've seen. Like this dude's incredibly intelligent on the football field, understanding of blocking schemes and everything. I mean, he's 6'3", 290. He's got good size, but like he's always like, what they say, when you join football and you're an offensive or defensive lineman, one of the first things they tell you in like middle school, lowest man wins, right? That's what they always say, lowest man wins. I mean, Kobe Turner's 6'3", but he's always the lowest man. I mean, he doesn't get like beat and driven off the ball. He's got great size. He uses it really well. He's got good agility. He's not an elite athlete at the D-tackle position, but he's got good enough agility to move. Really smart pass rusher. He knows how to beat dudes. Kind of like what I was saying with KJ Henry. Kobe Turner, he's really good at using his hands and, defeating the interior lineman, learning what the interior linemen struggle with and using that against them, whether it's speed or power. He can kind of be versatile and use whatever. You see, he's kind of ranked as like 100 on PFF 14. I don't know what TDN is doing. Some of their rankings are kind of questionable to me. Like Kobe Turner at 418 is nuts from TDN. They're basically saying Kobe Turner is an undrafted player. I mean, consensus UC 135. I think this dude's like a early day 3 kind of pick. I can see maybe sliding into the 3rd round, but I think he's like a early 4th round kind of pick. A dude that you want, it's like he's a dude that I can see him being like a leader on a team. A dude you want in your locker room. Really smart, good guy, coming in. Really just a solid D-tackle, He's not one of those guys that's like an elite pass rusher, elite run defender. He's a huge dude, elite athleticism, but he's just good around. He's just an all-around good player, and I think he's going to have success in the NFL as like a rotational D-tackle at the minimum. Kind of like you've seen with the Eagles, how they rotate D-linemen more. I mean, he's a dude that I think could step in day 1 and join a rotation on the D-line and have some success. He's just good at everything he does, and one of the more well-rounded D-tackle prospects in this in this draft that I like. And if you get him on day 3, I mean, that's just great value on a dude that could be a leader and just a day 1 ready kind of dude to jump in the NFL. And, you know, you don't get that a lot on day 3. So, like, a dude like him, he could be a really good pick for a team on day 3. The last player we got for you guys in this video is going to be Terrell Smith, cornerback from Minnesota. He's another dude, you know, you can see the rankings anywhere from 180 to 290, kind of that day 3 kind of value for a lot of people. But he's coming in at 6 foot 204, had an incredible combine performance. I mean, this dude's an elite athlete. He's like Tyreke Stevenson, like he's your classic height, weight, speed kind of corner. You know, he's more experienced in different coverages. And I said Tyreke Stevenson was more like that press man. I think Terrell Smith definitely fits best in a press man, kind of like that. But I think he can also play zone. He played some of that at Minnesota. And showed he's also a really good tackler. You know, he's really good at tackling receivers and limiting that yak ability from some of them. But like, really in all, Terrell Smith is like, we see this every year with like that kind of like height, weight, speed corner that kind of goes on day 3. I mean, like we saw with Tyreke Woolen. I don't think Terrell Smith is quite the Tyreke Woolen kind of build with that elite athleticism, but like dudes that like have these elite height, weight, speed traits. I mean, if you can coach them up right, I mean, they can be incredible. Like Tyreke Woolen went to a great system where he got coached up right, and you know, he had the traits. You pair traits with a great coaching and a system, and I mean, you got a gem and an elite value. I think that's Terrell Smith. If this dude gets drafted by the right team that can take him in and, you know, provide him with the right coaching, the right schemes, this dude could be one of the like Tyreke Woolen's of the class where like he's having an incredible rookie season. You know, it all just depends on like one of the things that's underrated in a lot of NFL drafts is like scheme and like coaching really matters for a lot of players, especially once you get to like day 3. There's a certain list of blue chippers in a class where it doesn't matter. Like, you know, your Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, you know, some of these dudes that your blue chippers of the class where it doesn't matter. Like these dudes can go into any scheme, any system, and they're going to have elite success. But like once you start getting like even like day 2, even like, yeah, day 2 or day 3 picks, I mean, a huge thing is like scheme and coaching can mean a lot to some of these players. Like you've seen with like some of the players that like, you know, maybe they go on day 2 or day 3 and they have like not a lot of success on the team that drafts them, but then they go to another team and start having more success. It's because like coaching and scheme means a lot when you're not like a blue chip player. And Terrell Smith is one of those dudes where like, you know, if he goes to the wrong scheme, he might not be like a great player at the gets. But if he goes to a team that can use his skill set to his advantage, I mean, Terrell Smith could be, he's an elite athlete at the cornerback position that has incredible upside. One of the dudes that I think he's like one of those corners, like if I'm saying there's a corner in this class that isn't being talked enough, it's Terrell Smith. I love some of the other dudes I mentioned. This dude's a corner that has to be talked about more. I mean, like you said, he's kind of that late day 3 in a lot of these projections, but I think he should be an early day 3 dude at minimum, and dude that has this elite athleticism and upside that a team should really be taking a chance on, like I've said, with a lot of these dudes at the end of the draft. That's going to go ahead and be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go ahead and keep getting out some more mock drafts for you guys throughout the week. That's going to be it for my gems. I'm going to start my position ranking videos next week. We'll get those rolling, start, you know, some of the positions. I probably won't get through every position, but most of the positions I feel comfortable with, I'll go ahead and get those out starting next week and kind of going up until the draft starts, throwing some mock drafts here and there. But let me know what you guys thought about some of these defensive gems. Throw any gems you guys got in the comments. Any dudes, you know, late round dudes that hey, you got to check this guy out, Jared. Those dudes down in the comments, let me know what you guys think. If there's any dudes that feel like I don't agree with what you said, also let me know. You know, I love to learn. Draft is a learning process. Everyone has different opinions. I love to hear other opinions, even if they're wrong. You know, got to hear all the opinions and see. Like I personally like, I like to trust my own judgment of players, but I also you're not using your abilities if you don't look at what everyone else is saying. You know, I love to look at what everyone's saying about players, and then I build my own judgment based off of what I see combined with what they say. Like if I'm like, hey, you know, I thought this dude played really well as like an edge rusher, and like he's awful at edge rushing. You know, I'm taking those because I'm not like a genius, you know, but I like to think I know some about football. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Anyways, that's gonna be it, and I'll see you guys next week or probably later this week for some more videos.